If you're thinking about selling your house in 2025, then this is the video for you. We're so glad you're here. We're going to talk about what not to fix prior to selling your house in 2025. It's going to be one of the most popular videos out there, and there's going to be things that you would think you should fix that will save you thousands and net you more when you sell. This is going to be totally worth it. We're glad you're here. If we're meeting for the first time, hello. My name is Alex, and I'm your friend in real estate in Nashville, and I love sharing great content like this to people that are thinking about making their next move, whether that's here into Middle Tennessee and Nashville or anywhere into parts beyond in the rest of the United States or even the world. We help make those connections and introductions before that move happens and before you get into it. So we share great stuff like this. So if you get any value today, please go ahead and smash that subscribe button. And if you really are thinking about your next move, let us know, because you can pop in and get a free 30-minute consultation with us wherever you may be going, whatever your situation may be. We'd love to hear from you. But let's get back to today's video. We're going to talk about something we talk about every single week with our clients, which is, hey, we're getting ready to sell. What should we fix? What should we not fix? What's the process? Where do we get started? So we're going to talk about the things that you absolutely shouldn't fix prior to selling. And again, some of the things in the back end, the last few things, you won't get anywhere else than right here. So we're glad you're here. Let's go. Okay, one of the things that we hear from our clients most often is, hey, we're ready to sell our house, but the bathrooms really need to be updated. And you know what? This is pretty common. We run into that both with showings with clients as well as going out to market and getting homes ready to go to market. So this really depends on your price category, right? And depends on your timing as well. And the timing is something very commonly overlooked. But a bathroom remodel, obviously, besides the fact that it tears up and is construction in your house that you're living in, but beyond that can take a significant amount of time, right? And you lose the use of that bathroom too. So if you're in a house that only has one or two bathrooms, it can be a totally different experience while you're living in it. And it may just be something that you're just not in a position to do. If you can enter in a position to go ahead and move out and move on to your next property and then do the remodel after, that could be a possibility. But the challenge and the reason we don't recommend remodeling the bathrooms is you're going to put your style, your taste on it, and a buyer may have chosen differently, and it may ultimately disqualify a buyer from doing it. That's one of the reasons we don't recommend the remodel. Go ahead and price it according to the market that it is versus doing that renovation, and then allow that buyer to go ahead and do that renovation for the selections that they would have chosen. Okay, next is a kitchen remodel. And oh my gosh, this one gets talked about all the time. Everyone gathers in the kitchen, and the kitchen is an absolute focal point of buying and selling. And so you want to make sure that your kitchen is absolutely dialed in and in its best shape. So that doesn't mean that you're going to just do nothing and leave it scratched up with the sugar spilled in the cabinets and all of your original pens and post-it notes in there. No, we absolutely recommend preparing for the market and decluttering and cleaning and all that. That's absolutely part of our process. However, doing a total remodel where you're tearing out the cabinets and a whole new installation of cabinets and flooring and appliances may not be the best choice. So that's why we don't necessarily recommend it, because of the same point prior, that you may end up making a selection that someone never wanted. One of the things we're seeing in the market right now is buyers want natural stone countertops. And if you don't have those, that's actually a pretty easy fix for the buyer to make and for their agent or their team of advisors to make an introduction, to get a connection and to go ahead and change out those countertops. But if you change out the countertops and spend tens of thousands of dollars on these brand new countertops, it may be a waste, and it may be a waste to chase that improvement thinking that it's going to make you more money when in the end the buyer ends up tearing those out. So not doing a whole total kitchen remodel unless you're a remodeler, and that's a different video and a different conversation, just doesn't make total sense, because you have people that are out there that are looking to make their own choices because they're skilled and they want to make their own floor plan changes. Next is partial or homeowner repairs. And this is something that really comes up when you're actually on the market, and you can tell that you could see that someone got a can of paint out to fix a drywall punch that was originally there, and they painted just the spot, not the whole wall. You can see where someone did a siding repair and it just doesn't match because one part of the exterior siding was, there for 5 years, and this is a brand new repair and it just hasn't weathered and matched properly. And so we really want to limit any of those partial repairs. You want want to deliver your house as prepared and as, as inheriting as few problems as possible. That's what buyers are thinking about. They're going, gosh, if the homeowner hasn't fixed this, it's going to be difficult for me to fix it. And that's just generally not the case. It's generally a reasonable solve. We're just living life while we're in houses, and we don't get around to making that ultimate fix. So that's one of the things you want to prepare for when you go to market, when you're coming to the market and getting that microscope put on your house. That's a really good thing to be careful of and not to do any of these partial repairs. Go ahead and make sure you do it all the way through and deliver that finished product to the best of the ability and for the era that your house is. Again, ultimately for your highest net and easiest sale process. Okay, next, we have people call all the time and say, hey, we need to redo all of the flooring in our house. We've been here for a long time. We commonly get people, families that are downsizing or parents that are downsizing. The kids have gone, and it's something that we go, okay, this has had some heavy wear and tear on it. What do we need to do? And so flooring comes up often, and this is actually something that we recommend not doing, again, because you may run into or may provide a particular material that a buyer may not be looking. Now, they're easy buttons like carpet. We run that and it's completely threadbare, and we actually recommend people do that, but that's an easy button even for a buyer. So that's one of the reasons we say, hey, don't worry about that. It will show better with that, but you also run the risk of, if you invest in these new floors and you're showing in Middle Tennessee, where we have very variable weather that changes on a dime and it rains, or we have a downpour and people tracking mud on your brand new floors, it's going to be a frustration and part of the process that we can just avoid by being like, hey, look, it's fine. Come on in. These floors are 20 years old, probably going to want to change them anyway. Now, again, we're not saying you don't have to do any preparation. It's just an overall large 10,000 foot view that if you do these flooring changes, you may install the flooring that's not appropriate for this particular client. So you may have someone that really wants hardwood floors on purpose because of their allergies, and you tear out hardwood floors and put in carpet, and it completely disqualifies that buyer. So let's think about that. And if you're in our local market, there's lots of different choices, but you just want to make sure you're picking something that's in the market, as well as not over picking something that'll disqualify you from the largest majority of buyers. Okay, another thing that comes up is, how much landscaping should I do? And so one thing, you don't want to do a total overhaul, right? You don't want to do a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 total renovation. You do want to spruce it up. You do want to get the weeds pulled. You do want to freshly mulch. You do want to have some nice color at the front door, regardless of the season, and really set that impression. The showing really starts as people approach and turn onto your street. And if you're in the middle of the block and you're coming down the street, the showing starts from the very beginning, when they're looking for the address, they're looking for the mailbox, looking for the sign in the yard. And you really want to win that moment. You want to win that moment and have that crescendo, especially in 2025, because there's so many pictures and so many videos. But when you're there in person, you really want to get a feel that gets anticipation and excitement up. And this is one of the ways to do it. It's not a total redo, but it is getting it prepped and ready for market. So make sure that when you're doing your landscaping, it's not a total clear it all out, dig it all out, because you may have 40-year-old boxwoods that people really want because they love that established landscaping. If you tear them out and put the little 5-gallon boxwoods in, they're gonna be like, man, that just doesn't, the landscaping doesn't match this established house and this established neighborhood. So avoid spending huge dollars on the landscaping, but definitely, do the prep and get it ready so we win that first part of the show. Okay, next, what about pre-inspection? Should we do a pre-inspection, and should we fix everything? So again, this video is about what you should not fix prior to selling, but we do recommend that you do a pre-home inspection. And people often disagree with us. They say, oh, we're not going to do that. We're just going to use the one from when we bought it, 3 or 4 years ago. Well, the problem with that here in Middle Tennessee is simply the fact that things change. And we're in a very humid climate, and the things that come up in an inspection that can really derail the process are gigantic things where people don't spend any time. It's in your attic, it's on your roof, it's in your crawl space, it's in your basement, and it's just places that you just don't spend a bunch of time. And those are the things that can really cost you a lot of money and slow down the process overall. So I'm going ahead and telling you now, you should absolutely invest in a home inspection. They are expensive, but the quality of them is very important. And the investment in that is going to save you so much money over time because you're going to know those things and be able to fix those things with your real estate professional to the current market standards. And that will really help you, because if you're in process and you're moving and you've got all your stuff packed up and then you find out, there was a roof issue and we're going to need to do a roof replacement. Well, those are very expensive and they can be very time consuming, but it could have been something we could have dealt with beforehand, had it inspected, had the repairs done and or replaced prior to market, which could have been an asset. So do invest in the home inspection, but don't go ahead and do everything. You definitely want to talk with your hyperlocal expert and decide together what you should fix prior to selling. Okay, the last one, and this one's very controversial, is the unfinished space. Should I go ahead and finish all that unfinished space out? And our recommendation is no, you shouldn't, because it gives you more flexibility with that unfinished space you may have over a garage, in another room, anything like that actually gives you more ability to adapt to your buyer and them seeing the possibility for whatever they may need, as opposed to you building out to what you think. I need one more bedroom, or I need this, or I need that. I've had so many different buyer needs that unfinished space matched for. It was amazing. And so there was so much more value in that unfinished space. I had a client who was buying a house and they needed to have a specific cat room. The two people living in the house, one of them was a cat lover, the other one was allergic. And in order to do that, they needed a room just for their cat to be in, so the rest of the dander and the hair didn't go anywhere else. Cats were in there and the partner could go into that room and spend time with the cats, where the other partner could live in the rest of the house without it being an issue. And that was an unfinished space. Another good example of that is we're in Nashville, right? Music City, USA. Often we need soundproof rooms in studios or isolation rooms, and people do that in their homes pretty often here in our market. Now, that's not as common in other markets across the country, but it's very common in Nashville. And so having that unfinished space could allow an isolation booth, a control room, any number of other things that the buyer could visualize. So you want to leave it open and you want to leave that unfinished space as unfinished space, because it's a bigger asset to you than it is finished. So that's it, guys. What did you think about our things not to fix when you're selling in 2025? I know there were a few in here that you weren't expecting. And if you've made it this far, give us a thumbs up for sure. Consider subscribing. We love sharing content just like this all over the country and the world, but we depend on you to help us meet our next client. So if you found value, help us out with the minimum of the thumbs up, comment below. But the biggest thing you could do is introduce us to the next person you know that we can help find their home here in Middle Tennessee. And if we happen to have your next move not be to Middle Tennessee, then reach out to us as well with that private link for the 30 minutes. We can help make the introduction to the ideal agent of choice. We keep an individual list of agents all across the country in our migration markets that meet all the different buyer profiles and needs across the country. So we have that personal introduction to make of an agent that we actually know and that will connect with you to help make your process as smooth as possible and get you the best deal you possibly can. But until we connect again, my name is Alex and I'm your friend in real estate in Nashville. I'm so glad you found our channel and hope to see you again here soon. But until then, keep on keeping on. We'll see you soon.